Hey, what's up, fellas? It's Mike, and we are going to finally do the official Supergun show review on the Bob Long G6R. Now, I'm going to start the video off by saying that in this video, we're not going to do the efficiency test with the SLP regulator. I know, Bob Long did, pulled something like 20 pods in his efficiency test with the SLP regulator. I have an SLP regulator right here from Ninja. I don't have a tank to put it on yet, but that'll change here shortly. But we wanted to do the efficiency test with this gun based on basically on the same tank that we use for all of our guns, which is a standard Ninja 68-4500 with the output pressure set at about, I believe it's about 650-700 psi. And how do I know that? It's because I use these little on-off ASAs with gauges on them, and I always test the output pressure of the tank before I do an efficiency test, at least once every 2 or 3 weeks, just to make sure it's sitting in the same 650-700 psi window. That way no gun gets any sort of advantage or anything like that. And something else too, I'll throw this in there before we start getting into the G6R. My efficiency tests are not meant to sell the gun, okay? My efficiency test is just there to show you how the gun would perform, based on a 68-4500 shooting at 12 balls per second, shooting, I'm shooting now RPS premium paint, about 300 feet per second, 295, 300 feet per second, and it is what it is. I do not make a commission on the efficiency test of the gun. I do not change the settings for the efficiency test of the gun. I run the settings bone stock, get it to 12.5 PSP ramping, get it to 300 feet per second, and run with it. That's it, okay? So, I do want to say that about my efficiency test. I do not make any commission. It's not like the companies call me up and say, if you can get it to, from 9 pods to 11 pods, we'll give you $40,000 or something like that. Okay, that just doesn't happen. So, my efficiency test, I test the same gun the same way every single time, and whether they get 1 pod or they get 40 pods makes no difference to me. So, I'm not here to sell the gun. I'm just here to show you this is, this is what we got. It is what it is. So, with that being said, Bob Long G6R. And I've got a couple intimidators here. You guys know I've been a pretty big Bob Long fan for a long time. I've got a really pretty species here that I just recently rescued from eBay. A brand new species, absolutely gorgeous. And you guys know, the rendition aliases. This is a really pretty gun also. And, there was rumor coming around for quite a while about the hoseless vise that was going to come out. That's the G6R. So I shot a vise through about half the season of the 2009 PSP. Used the rendition vise. Absolutely loved it. So I definitely expected this gun to perform as good, if not better, than the vise, because the vise was one of my favorite guns I had for quite a while. It was smooth. It was relatively inexpensive compared to some of the other guns that were on the market, and the gun shot great. So obviously it's Bob Long, so packaging isn't going to be the greatest. You will notice that that it is a different, even though it is a Tadao board, they kind of took a lot of the settings and the parameters out of the board. And when I asked, when I called up Bob Long to ask what the deal was with that, basically it said there was a lot of people that called up. At least a few people would call up a day, wondering why their gun wasn't shooting properly, and the techs would have to basically get them to reset the board. And what they did was the parameters that tended to be wrong, that don't really make much of a difference in the performance of the gun, they basically just took those out. So the new board that it comes with, it's the Odoshi G6R board. You will notice that it's very, very different than like the Musashi series or the Yakuza series and stuff like that. So definitely, if you've been shooting Tadao boards for quite a while, you definitely want to read this manual a couple times just to make sure that you understand the new parameters, because the colors are not going to match up and stuff like that. So that the G6R, even though it is a Tadao board, it gets its own board that's different than the other Tadao boards. It's got all the modes that you would need, just doesn't have the extra features and the parameters. Now, I'm pretty sure that you would be able to flash this board if you send it in a Tadao, but I definitely wanted to bring it up. You get a couple extra O-rings here to get you started. I definitely recommend, if you take the gun out of the box, you shoot it for a while, and you plan on this being your shooter for quite a while, probably one of the first things I would do is definitely stock up on another O-ring kit, just in case you blow one or something like that. I mean, this is enough O-rings to basically fix your gun just a couple of times, but if you plan on having it for a long time, you definitely want to stock up on these as inexpensive insurance. Something else that's in the box here, which is kind of nice, is they're now quality controlling the guns out of the box. They're telling you what your LPR setting is and also what your high pressure regulator setting is on your particular gun before it leaves the factory, and it also tells the chrono speeds that they're getting, and they're signing it at the bottom, which is really nice. So, you know, it's really nice to see that kind of you know, that kind of care before the marker. It's not, you don't just have people slapping them together and throwing them out the door, stuff like that. This is some proof and some assurance that the marker was tested before it shipped out. I definitely am glad that they're doing this. So, G6R, I mean, it's really neat feeling gun. The biggest thing that you feel about the gun is very thin in the hands. Don't know how to really describe other than that, but it doesn't have the meat of the vise. It could be because of the grips. You know, these grips are very narrow. It's definitely a thinner feeling grip in your hands than most of the Bob Long guns that I'm used to feeling. It's definitely a lot thinner, obviously, than the 2002, and definitely a lot thinner than the Alias. But you know, kind of in your hands, it almost feels like if you're holding an Alias without any grip panels on the side. But definitely is a neat feeling gun. In this review, I'm just going to do the basic maintenance on the marker, which is basically the RAM, high pressure reg, low pressure regulator, and tri-flow on the bolt. In the future, I will do another video where we break, not break the gun, but we basically split the gun in half, because the gun does have a crease right down the middle of it, which is really neat, which allowed them to get into the gun here, and basically we're able to, drill it out and make the ram sleeve integrated into the bottom tube, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and get the camera in a little bit closer here, and we will take it apart, and then we'll go outside, do an efficiency test, and then we'll come back for the conclusion.